The classic paradigm you're going to find here is steady state long duration posed up against what a lot of folks will now call higher intensity interval training specifically. And there's a lot of misconceptions here. The quick answer is you need to be doing both. And there's probably a bunch of stuff in between that you should be practicing. If you honestly want to maximize those three factors we talked about at the beginning, you need to be training across this full spectrum. Just like I told you to train across the full spectrum of your lifting, we want to be doing the same thing here. So are there independent special factors that can happen with the shorter time length, higher intensity stuff? Absolutely. There's also magic that happens on the other end of that spectrum. So it's very important that people don't just choose one side, because what tends to happen is people either go with I'm going to do 30 or 45 minutes of steady state stuff. That's it. Or I'm going to do the opposite, which I'm going to leave that stuff on the table, not do it, because I only want to do high intensity intervals because I can get it done in 5 minutes. So there's magic on both sides of the equation. We want to get into all of that. But just to answer your question directly, there's a whole bunch of things you can do in under 1 minute that are convenient to do. And there's a wonderful set of papers out of a couple of laboratories in Canada that champion this idea that's called exercise snacks. So there's a series of studies that have been done here that are really interesting. And they've looked at a couple of things that are noteworthy. One of them is a 20-second bout of all-out work. And this is actually done in workers in an office. And so what they had them do is run upstairs. And I believe it was about 60 steps is what it took them. Something along the order of 20 seconds exactly. And they repeated that about once every 4 hours. So really, it's just, you go to work, you get, put your coffee in your bag down, whatever. You run up a flight of stairs. 20 seconds later, then you go right back to work at lunch. And before you go home, you sort of repeat it there. And if you repeat that, that's multiple times a week, you're going to do that. I think in one of the interventions, it was 3 times a week for 6 weeks. 18 total times you did that. And what you'll see is a noticeable improvement, and this is statistically significant improvements in cardiorespiratory fitness, specifically VO2 max, as well as a number of cognitive benefits, work productivity, et cetera, that can happen in as little as 20 seconds. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to shower. You don't have to do anything like that. Just find the stairs, run up and down them a few times. Now, you may have noticed, you actually sort of caught me yesterday. I did that right here, right? We had a little bit of a break. I was feeling an energy lull. I ran up the stairs 3 or 4 times, felt a lot better. So that can actually also help. They ran another study where they looked at that following a giant high glycemic index meal. And what they saw, and then they took insulin measures and a whole bunch of other biological markers associated that you want to pay attention to with the high glycemic index meal. And they looked at those immediately, an hour, 3 hours, 6 hours as opposed. And it was very clear that same intervention was able to improve postprandial glucose control, insulin, and a whole bunch of other factors in addition to that. So if you are the sort of type who's like, wow, I'm in an office all day, maybe also had a giant high glycemic index meal, not the best approach, but a little bit of mitigation there can just be running up a flight of stairs or doing something like that for as little as 20 seconds. So there's a lot of magic and power in maximal exertion.
If one does not have access to a flight of stairs at work, could they do jumping jacks?
Absolutely. I mean, you could do anything you really wanted. It's not the mode of exercise that matters here. It is simply the exertion. You just get up as hard as you can. You could do burpees. You could do any number of things. You could sprint down your road, down the hallway, back and forth. The mode is just something that was easy for the scientists to control. And X number of steps, people could do it. You're not going to fall, hurt yourself, things like that.
Just to remind me, it's once every 4 hours, 1 minute of all
20
out,
seconds.
20 seconds, excuse me. 20 seconds of essentially all out exertion.
Yep.
While remaining safe, not going so fast up the stairs or doing jumping jacks so
and
fast.
Certainly not down the stairs. Up the stairs, please.
Right. Escalators don't count. Well, I suppose they count if they're, if you're moving, if you're not remaining on the same steps. In fact, in an airport recently, I saw somebody walking against the conveyor while talking on the phone while waiting for their flight to take off. And I thought it's genius, right? It looked a little awkward.
Who cares?
Yeah, but it was.
I have looked awkward in every airport I've been in for the last 15 years for these exact reasons, doing wild stuff like that.
Yeah, well, nothing's more awkward than not being able to walk to the end of the terminal simply because one isn't familiar with walking that far carrying a couple of suitcases.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the other fit test.
100%.
The suitcase carrier in the airport. Oh, I love this. So once every 4 hours, 20 seconds. So maybe once when arriving to work, once 4 hours in, and then 4 hours. And most people are probably at work somewhere, 8 plus or minus 2 hours.
Now, one thing I actually really want to make clear, because your audience is so incredible, they tend to be really excited about these protocols and they follow them exactly as written. That's not exactly how science works. So it doesn't necessarily have to be every 4 hours. It doesn't have to be 3 times a day. It doesn't have to be 20 seconds. They literally built that protocol because they're trying to replicate a real life scenario. Maybe you're in an office building, you're generally there for 8 hours. Let's see if you did one every sort of so if you want to do it 4 times a week, great. If you can do it only 10 seconds, amazing. You're probably going to get the same benefits. Those are not the details to pay attention to. The detail to pay attention to is every so often, multiple times a day, try to get your heart rate up really quickly. Doesn't require sweating, doesn't require anything else. There's no warm up associated with it. Again, you need a minute break in between meetings or whatever, and you can sprint up them.